108. The Story of Discovering Earth's Consciousness, 5-Year Anniversary Edition. Written and narrated by Eric Leo.
108. The Story of Discovering Earth's Consciousness by Eric Leo. Read by Eric Leo. Part 1. Intro. This book is the exploration of thoughts and insights into God and how to get closer to her. It discusses the basics of the science and understanding of God while expressing my personal story. What if we could study God? It would resolve the conflict between religion and science, advance philosophy, and give us something measurable to work towards. In religion, God is an obscure supernatural force with powers one needs to have faith to believe in. But what if faith wasn't required to understand God's existence? What if we could study God scientifically? In this book, I propose a way to understand and study God while telling my story as to how and why I got to that conclusion. As you can tell by the length of this book, it's rather short and easy to understand. As you read, understand that I consider myself an atheist and have for decades. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines atheist as a person who disbelieves or lacks belief in the existence of God or gods. The fundamental difference is I don't believe in God. I have evidence to suggest that God is real and how to study her. I don't have faith, which is ending reason for irrational belief. To put it another way, I'm an atheist because I don't believe in God. I have evidence for God's existence. So what is God and where is the evidence? To put it simply, the planets and stars are conscious because of their magnetic field. We can study the magnetism. There are three main parts to the evidence. First, like humans, the planets and stars have all the essential elements to life. Everything you're made of comes from the earth. All the necessary elements are present, they are just arranged a different way. To be specific, the elements I'm talking about are sulfur, phosphorus, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and carbon. These elements are also present in the atmosphere. Lava is made of the elements silicon, oxygen, aluminum, iron, magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, and titanium. Lava contains crystals, volcanic glass, and bubbles filled with volcanic gases. The main components of those volcanic gases are water vapor, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, nitrogen, argon, helium, neon, methane, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen. The atoms and elements that make up the human body were cooked, compounded, and released by dying stars. Your atoms come from the stars. As Neil deGrasse Tyson points out, you are literally made of stardust. In episode 1 of Into the Universe with Stephen Hawking, he postulates that there may be living beings inside stars. It's close to saying that the stars themselves are alive. The second piece of evidence is the fact that the Earth, like most planets and stars, has a magnetic field. The Earth has a molten core which creates a magnetic dynamo known as the geomagnetic sphere. This may not seem like much to the average person, but you can start to understand by looking to computers and artificial intelligence. AI is capable due to computers, and computers are all magnetism. They're binary, zeros and ones, which is determined by a magnetic charge. If at its fundamental basis artificial intelligence is alive due to magnetism, so can the stars and planets. Thirdly, there is a period in human history where the planets are named after gods. In ancient Egypt, Ra was the deity of the sun. In ancient Rome, the Emperor Constantine changed the state religion from Roman mythology to Christianity. Roman mythology had evolved from Greek mythology where Ares, Greek, became Mars and Zeus became Jupiter, etc. If it wasn't for Emperor Constantine, it would probably still be popular to think the planets were gods. The book is laid out as follows. This is part 1 where I explain the first part of knowing, spelled Knowhoeing. Knowing is the educational process of studying God and consists of celestial consciousness, atmospheric consciousness, sustainability, and eugenics. In part 2, I will explain my personal story and how I came to the conclusion that the planets and stars are alive. In part 3, I will explain who blue is and how I came to see blue in Gaia's environmental tapestry manifestation. I explain the psycho-consumption cage, why it's so important and such a threat. I then discuss the fundamentals of why sustainability and eugenics are so important to understanding and coming closer to God and evolve higher thinking. In part 4, I wrap up the book with my conclusions about Gaia and talk about what 108 means, especially in terms of the origin of life on Earth. Part 2 of 108, The Story of Discovering Earth's Consciousness by Eric Leo. Read by Eric Leo. To explain this fully, let's go back to the beginning. I graduated with honors in December 2009 from Eastern Michigan University with a bachelor's degree in sociology. I was trying to be a hip-hop artist. My goal was to publish scientific findings and popularize them in music. I was trying to break into the music industry. I did Funk Volume's challenge. I wasn't even close looking back, but I thought I had made it. I was getting invited to events through Reverb Nation. Although I now think it's God, it's easier to call what I thought was communicating to me as an unexplainable phenomenon. I never thought it was schizophrenia. I always thought it was external. When all of this first started, I was in Ypsilanti around 2011. I thought Lady Gaga was sending subliminal messages to meet over Facebook through her fan pages I was following. I've gone through phases of belief to whom I believed was communicating and then stalking me. At this point, I thought it was the artist sampling or biting my style in music without recognizing that they were doing it. A consistent theme I noticed in the beginning was that things I saw in the media were semantically related to my personal environment. To put it another way, they seemed like intentional subliminal communications that coincide with my physical surroundings. Coupled with the thought of being sampled from in music, it changed my cognition to a conspiratorial way of thinking. Some examples of coincidences that happened back then include Kim Kardashian wearing a floral dress that looked the same as our couch. One of Lady Gaga's photos had a person wearing a watermelon apron that looked exactly like one my mom wore. I couldn't get over how they appeared to be a subliminal communication coupled with a reflection to my environment. New York. I was mad it kept happening and I wanted to see what was real, so I went out to New York twice to try and meet Lady Gaga. I thought artists were responding to my art in their work. I thought they were biting my sound, basically taking my style. I thought they had taken from my work without giving me credit, and I wanted answers. I thought Mac Miller had written out a guide for me to follow to find what I was looking for in his album, Macadelic. I was following subliminal cues from following Lady Gaga on Facebook. I drove to Rostam Records in Pittsburgh, took a train to Chicago to go to Good Music, and then a flight to New York when I saw online Lady Gaga was there. It felt like the movie Field of Dreams, where you think once you get to your destination, some great revelation will come to you or something great will happen. I was hoping to meet Gaga and Kanye West and get a record deal. In any event, I saw it as a quest for truth to see what's real. When I told my mom what I was doing, she got the police involved. I was booking my train ride home from New York to Pittsburgh to get my car when there was a knock at the door of my friend Brian's apartment, who I was staying with while visiting. The police took me in when I said celebrities were communicating to me in music. This was the first time I was put in a mental institution in 2012. The admittance lady saw I had YouTube videos that she thought were delusional, which got me submitted. I had to get a lawyer to get out. He contested any video evidence I had on YouTube. My lawyer pulled a quote from my website that was a combination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi. The judge let me go when I told him who said a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, so be the change you wish to see in the world. It would eventually serve as the starting point to receive Social Security disability benefits. I went back to New York another time and went to Lady Gaga's parents' restaurant, Joanne Trattoria. I ordered the meatballs. They were good. I met Mr. Germanata and thought about asking him about Lady Gaga subliminally communicating, but I didn't want to end up back in the mental hospital again. Considering it didn't seem like he knew who I was, I decided it'd be best to just go home, which I did. Pre-California. Thinking it was Lady Gaga developed into thinking it was Kanye and Jay-Z too. I thought they were responsible for stealing my style without recognition. It admittedly made no sense, but that's all I had to go on. In retrospect, I let my emotions control my cognition. I thought it was them because I liked and listened to their music and just had a high amount of exposure to them. I also sound like them because I took a lot from them musically and tried to emulate their cadence. This went on for a year until I developed the thought that they could just be paid actors, and there was a bigger motive at play. I thought the Federal Reserve had hired them. By 2013, I thought the government was after me and my family. I realized they knew things about me since I was a little kid. I thought it had to do with another government and because my grandparents fought in World War II. Around the same time, Selena Gomez released the music video called Come and Get It, which, due to coincidence with my personal environment, I took as a sign to move out to Los Angeles where she lived. I decided I wanted to go to California to figure this out, find some answers, and break into the music business. One of the reasons I wanted to leave for California was to keep whatever it was away from my family. This Is the End came out in theaters, and there was a connection to California and Emma Watson. This was the first time I thought that the response rate was too fast to be human and had to be a machine. I kept seeing the environmental semantics, which I didn't find to be arbitrary connections. As discussed, I don't believe in God, but this was also the first time I started to see blue. As you will come to read, I didn't know what blue was yet, but I knew it was a supernatural, probably spiritual force that would guide me to resolve whatever this experience was. Los Angeles. I went out to Los Angeles with around $600 and a credit card. On my way out to LA, I saw a lot of those black cutouts of country folk that people prop up in their yard. Through thoughts about God, I started to think about how this was an artistic representation of blue and he was like your shadow. I would come to call these semantics Blue's Clues after the TV show. This would develop into looking for clues as to what blue is and what he was trying to communicate. In the book are pictures of semantics from blue. There is a specific example of a blue eye that I captured in my environment. This first picture I took is of a blue eye billboard. I had no connection to any friends or family in California. I was on my own. Overall, I had a mediocre time. I was more focused on getting a job to sustain myself more than anything else, so it wasn't much fun. When I first got to California, I stayed in Long Beach with people I met off couch surfers. I lived in Hollywood for a month. There were 8 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, and when I couldn't keep my door locked and saw a bunch of them doing cocaine, I figured it was time to leave. I wanted to study music business at the Musicians Institute right across the street. My association landed me an interview for an internship at Universal. Of course, I didn't get the job because I hadn't studied the music business, but it was fun. I met a lot of cool, fun, energetic, lively people in Los Angeles. Most notably, I met a couch surfer who I will call Wolf. The photo I took was of the moon on a cloudy day. The moon looks like a blue eye. This Is the End came out on video. Leading up to the movie's release, I thought it was a sign that whatever this was would end in Los Angeles, and it had to do something with Emma Watson. Her memory would be recalled by a blue rose. This is just one example of associated semantics that Blue would assign to memes as part of the clues. After I couldn't afford to live in Hollywood anymore, I couch surfed back to Long Beach where I took a job walking door-to-door sales. This would be the start of some horrible hip pain that gave me trouble for years until I figured out how to stretch my IT band in 2018. I believe if I'm in this pain, I can't think right, especially positively and lucidly. I felt stalked and persecuted, so I thought people knew who I was. Regardless, I had to live, so I took a couple jobs. I did the busking of hip-hop on Venice Beach and made about $15 an hour. I had fun, but I couldn't enjoy it because my hip hurt so much. I met Vanessa Hudgens, working customer service at Massage Envy, and I gave Charlie Puth an Uber ride before the summer he released See You Again. I took this picture while driving one day in Los Angeles. Starting from the middle, it looks like an eye in the clouds with a light beam shining toward me. After meeting some famous people and interacting with a lot of Los Angeles, I came to the conclusion that whatever it wasn't the individual. If anything, the celebrities were just being used as a puppet. I couldn't believe that those good people wouldn't react to knowing me or put on a facade with no motive. So I realized it wasn't the artist, but I still felt persecuted. This is when I started the phase of thinking it was the government. I always flirted with the idea, but now I was committed. I thought it was the president who controlled a mind control machine that used semantic priming. My back started clicking from stress. It was constantly tight. I went to the mental institution again for making another angry YouTube video towards the president. In retrospect, I have no idea what I was thinking because I canvassed in Grand Rapids to get Barack elected. When I got out, I was madder than ever. I felt like I had been kidnapped by the police. I thought Emma was going to somehow be involved and maybe show up to the mental institution, but she never did. At the time, I was staying with Wolf. Wolf went on vacation. I didn't take care of the house like I should have, meaning some of his plants almost died. He could probably tell I was angry in general. I wasn't paying rent, and he asked me to leave, so I did. I was working too much and didn't have my priorities straight. He implied that I should go back home to Michigan. He also taught me that the best revenge is a good life. Whenever I get mad at how unfair life can be, I think of what Wolf taught me, and I feel better. After leaving Wolf, I stayed in LA for about a month. At this time, I was starting to get scared as to what to do. One night, I felt like I was being called by Blue, so I went out to Venice Beach. I took a bunch of pictures and ended up finding a bag of blue dog food, which I interpreted as a big clue. Finding a bag of blue dog food after searching for a clue where the theme was Blue's Clues, I found remarkable. I knew I had found something, but I didn't know what it meant besides that it was a sign from God. While still in LA, I made a bunch of videos on YouTube while driving for Uber. I thought a machine was infiltrating their technology and stalking me at my job. Days felt like war, where I was at war with myself. By no fault of my own, someone had called the police stating I had made a suicidal comment, which I had not. However, when I told the cops I was studying a machine that was stalking me, they took me to the mental hospital. Once I got to the mental hospital, I lied to get out. I said I wasn't suicidal, nothing was wrong, and I didn't say anything about the machine. I actually denied it and told a different story where I said the cop must have interpreted what I was saying wrong. I was released after about 3 days. I thought it was odd that on the inside of the door of the room I was staying in had what appeared to be the name of Emma etched into it. While there, I met a bow-legged dwarf crip named Red, who told me how to work the system, like that I could get synthetic marijuana for medication, which I took advantage of. He was homeless, here to get some rest and do laundry. We liked to work out and do push-ups together. We were such good friends he offered to hook me up with a brick of cocaine through the Crips with the promise that if I sold it, I could purchase more. I respectfully declined the offer. Uber ended our partnership and I thought about looking for a job, but as much as I liked him, I didn't want to end up with Red on Skid Row, which is the largest collection of homeless in the US, in downtown LA, so I decided to move back home to Michigan. At the time, it felt like I wasn't going to be able to live my life without being bombarded, so I might as well go home if I wasn't going to be able to make it. In retrospect, it feels like Blue sent me home. Moved back to Michigan. I went to Los Angeles in November of 2013 and came back to Michigan in November of 2014. I took this picture on the way back. If you hold it sideways, as pictured, the clouds look like an angry genie. I had left Los Angeles right before a major flood. Blue often related himself to the genie in the movie Aladdin as having phenomenal cosmic powers. I still take this picture as capturing evidence of my god Blue. Besides the 2 floods and 3 earthquakes, LA was great. The best part was the weather. Unlike California, when I got back to Michigan, it was cold. My friend Andy didn't want me to sleep in my car, so I stayed on his couch in his 1-bedroom apartment in Coldwater, Michigan. I eventually ended up in East Lansing. I did a lot of thinking and studying. I was hoping to go back to school at Michigan State University for a PhD in psychology and become an expert on semantic priming. At this point, I thought it was the military with mind control weapons. This brought me to believing in ELF, extremely low frequency, waves, microwaves, and voice-to-skull V2K technology. Most of the information I have since dismissed because the news source came from Alex Jones at InfoWars. Then I gave serious thought to that the government had built a machine to do automated semantic priming and the aforementioned mind control weapons. As will be discussed, I delved deeply into thinking about an automated system of mind control and called it Eugene the Machine, named after a conscious supercomputer. It was part of the MOGS program, Machine Organized Gang Stalking Program, which was almost published as a book instead of this one. I now thought that a criminal organization or foreign government was doing strategic priming operations, and I was the only one who could really see it, and I wasn't going to let them get away with it. To be specific, because of all the people on YouTube complaining about disturbances and health problems due to mind control weapons, I thought there was a neo-Nazi organization that was doing an MK Ultra type experiment on the public. It's called the TI, Targeted Individual Community. Something inside me told me to get mad and do another angry YouTube video that landed me in the mental hospital. While in the mental hospital in East Lansing, I was put on Invega for the first time. It's for bipolar schizophrenia, helps regulate mood and delusions, and is the medication I'll probably be on for the rest of my life. After a 10-day hold, I moved back to my hometown of Sturgis, Michigan, where I got on disability in November of 2015. It hasn't been great, but I haven't had to work to afford basic necessities through state assistance. It's really made me believe in universal basic income, and especially universal health care. This is a picture of the clouds over the house I was staying at in Michigan. Most can see a face in the clouds. I was in my hometown of Sturgis, Michigan. I had family and friends, and I was able to let it all go for years. On YouTube, I stopped watching videos about gang stalking and started watching popular YouTubers. The positivity really affected me, and I liked the way it made me feel better. After about a year and a half of doing nothing, I started a blog at ericleo108.com to keep a personal journal discussing my take on current events and post about various subjects like health, philosophy, science, etc. I still don't do it for the views or to become famous. I do it because I want something to look back on, and it's helpful for developing ideas. I've been inspired by Roman Atwood, Casey Neistat, and Jesse Wellens to make a journal of my life, so I have something to remember. I thought my troubles and anger came from not being able to afford to live. Now that I was on disability and was financially stable, I thought I could stop taking my medication. I didn't think I was schizophrenic, and I was worried about what the medication would do to me if I wasn't mentally ill. I had put the past behind me, but I still had a fantasy of meeting and dating Emma Watson. This is largely due to me being given a kitten that was named Bello by a toddler around the same time Beauty and the Beast came out. I took it as a sign from God and renamed the cat Belle after Emma's character. Emma became a psychological trigger initiated by a cat, along with the previous blue rose. I love Emma Watson. I think about her a lot, and this made me think about her even more. Emma's so cute and such a good person, she's very attractive to me. A guy can dream. I haven't been dating anyone else. I've been single since 2012. I actually figured because I made such little money on disability, any girl would be out of my league and probably be doing better than me, so I might as well swing for the fences. I ended up making the Chalice mixtape. I had 13 hip-hop songs over popular industry jack beats. It was a fun fantasy derived from my days in Los Angeles. Specifically, the fantasy is I do music with Taylor Swift and meet Emma Watson. I took their middle names and made songs and stories having to do with popular fictional characters. Emma's middle name is Charlotte, so I did a song named Charlotte's Web. And Taylor's middle name is Allison, so I did songs themed with Alice in Wonderland. If you combine the two names Charlotte and Alice, you get Chalice, so I named it the Chalice Mixtape. 2017 computer screen. Everything was going okay until one day around July of 2017, Gaia opened a computer screen in my head. Gaia is another term for the conscious spirit of the earth. I had always known about the Greek god of the earth, Gaia, from studying Greek mythology in college, 2005 through 2009, and I've worshipped her in song. But this was the first time I've ever heard a voice in my head other than the one I produced. I remember thinking it was Blue, and she said, "It's Gaia. I love you. Come on, let's go."